who, and I don't hire people with experience. I don't want, if you're coming in, I want you to have zero experience. And people are like, you're crazy. Why aren't you hiring people with experience? Because generally people with experience have egos, attitudes, and bad habits, right? Or if you're sitting in front of me, there's a reason you're in front of me that it didn't go well in the other place, and I kind of want to uncover that anyway. Like, why are you here?
Welcome to the Cannonball Mindset, and today I'm sitting with a good friend, great leader, award recipient. It seems like every week you win another award. I don't know, like it's like Grammy season every day for this guy. So, award winner, VP of huge home builder here in Dallas, Chris Hartley. What's happening, brother?
I'm glad to see you. You know, we've known each other for a long time, but this is the first time we've gotten to actually see each other.
That's crazy shit. Like I'm driving here, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I've talked to this guy a lot.
Like every week.
Yeah, every week I'm texting, we're talking, but we've never actually met face. I was like, how is that possible?
And I knew you were tall.
Did you know I was this tall?
Yeah, and I mean, I had to lean up to give you a hug. So
What's up, brother?
I mean, I was going to get a haircut, but I figured my hair was on point, literally, and it just made me shorter if I got it cut, so I kept it the way that it was.
Even more awkward. So I'm sitting here in Dallas, Texas, or right outside of Dallas, Texas. Is this considered Dallas?
We are actually in Dallas.
In Dallas. Beautiful skyline, Dallas. And what's great is that we had time to sit down, and the reason I wanted you on the podcast is because over the course of the last, however long it's been, year or 2 years, we've exchanged emails, we have great conversation, we have great conversation around sales, we have great conversation around mindset and leadership. And I'm like, why are we doing this shit like off air? Like this should be on a podcast so people can hear it, because I've learned so much from you, and you are like the one to know in the home building space. And I mean, not just in Dallas, but around the country.
Yeah, it's I was actually on a podcast in, I think it was January or February of last year, and I had won a couple of awards, and the gal, Anya Chrysanthemum, actually said, she's like, gosh, you just had an amazing year. And I said, well, and I totally stole a line from my friend Rhonda Conger, and I said, it took me 15 years for people to realize I had an amazing year, or that I even knew what the hell I was doing, or if I was even good at what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I tend to laugh about, winning all these awards, because I do win a lot of awards. But awards are not individual. What's funny about individual awards is they're not individual awards. Like I would never get any of those awards if it wasn't for my amazing team. And I have an amazing marketing team. I have an amazing sales team. They put their heart into everything that they do, and that's my family. And without them, you get none of those awards. You get none of them.
It's just crazy. Yeah, it's so true. And but how does so I think that one of the things people really struggle with is this idea of networking versus self-promotion versus like it all is tied into this package where people are afraid to put themselves out there. You're last year you won 40 under 40 in the home building industry. Again, if you think about it, across the country there's like 2,400 home builders. There's an insane amount of home builders in the United States and Canada, and to be one of the 40 people that says top 40 people in the industry under the age of 40 is pretty remarkable. But that takes a concerted effort, right? That doesn't just happen. Yeah. You have to kind of put yourself out there, which I think a lot of people are afraid to do. But it doesn't seem like you're afraid to do that, because you're now speaking at events. You're a VP of a huge company, but you're speaking at events. You're doing podcast interviews. People are asking for consulting. I'm saying it's all these kind of things. That's a concerted effort, right?
Well, and it is. I mean, it very much is. And you look at today's day and age and social media, whatever it may be. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Pinterest. I don't have anything but LinkedIn. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is I believe if you're going to do one thing, you should dominate one thing. Well, I looked at LinkedIn and looked at everybody that I follow and watch, and there was nobody in the home building industry that was really taking ownership of LinkedIn. And so I said, okay, well, how could I get myself and my team out there more than anything? And what I wanted to do is, and it kind of became promoting my brand or me, but it was getting to the point of getting my company recognition. You know, so we just recently got bought by a large national home builder, and when we were a small Dallas home builder, I wanted everybody in the country to know who we were because we were doing some kick-ass things.
Yeah.
We were doing some things that the large home builders of the world wouldn't even dare to do, which is, I truly believe, one of the reasons why we got bought to begin with, is because they saw that we had something unique here. And we got bought by an amazing company that says, do your thing. Don't change who you are. We bought you because of all these great things. And so just promoting those and promoting, you know, while you're promoting those, it kind of turns into you're the face of the promotion.
Yeah.
So you become recognized with the brand. And, you know, myself and at the time Dunhill Homes were kind of one and the same. And a good friend of mine, Will Duderstadt, who I have the pleasure of being able to speak with at the International Builder Show here soon, has this whole speech about you yourself are a brand. Like, Chad, you're a brand.
Right.
I mean, I'm a brand. Everybody in the world is a brand. Right. And he makes a statement here. He says, sit inside your car at a stoplight, and if somebody walks past you, if they're not texting on their phone, which they're probably doing anyway, but they're looking at you and they're making an assessment of you. They are judging your brand. Right. How do you want your brand to be perceived? And, you know, for those that are listening on the podcast, you can't see, but I have a faux hawk, right? And the reason I have a faux hawk is because I have a receding hairline on both sides that actually my hair really only go one way, right? It's going to go up. And my dad and I love my dad.
Wait, what the hell is a faux hawk?
It's not tall enough to be a real mohawk, so it's short, so it's a faux hawk. It's kind of like being a poser, but it works for me. It works for me. And so my dad, when I changed my hairstyle, because my hairstyle before looked like I ran into a wall. It was off. I'm not even going to show you a picture. And I was like, I got to do a change. And so, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, my hair would only go really one direction, and it was up. So I was like, I'm going to own this. And for a while, people were like, what the hell is on your head? And I'm like, it kicks ass. Like, it's a cool faux hawk. And my dad was like, what is that? Why did you do that? And I'm like, it's your fault. Like, your hairline falls the same way as my hairline. It just kind of naturally goes that way. But what I'm recognized for, which is so funny, what I'm recognized so often for is my hair. Yeah. Because people there's not a lot of public speakers out there that have a faux hawk. Yeah. Every toddler boy in the world, every 3-year-old boy has a faux hawk because it looks cute on him, right? Yeah. I just naturally have it. You do
look like a 3-year-old boy, though.
Thank you.
You do look like 15 years old.
I'm 38, I shouldn't look like a toddler. But it's just kind of funny that that's part of my brand. And so my dad actually heard me come speak one time, and he was like, I totally get it. That is your brand. Going to the International Builder Show, I have a gentleman that actually dresses me, fits me for suits and things like that. And his name's Bob Bauman. He is amazing. The guy worked for Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar's #1 salesperson. And Bob owns the most successful clothing company here in Dallas. And he outfits everybody. Everybody that is anybody, he does it. But this is the most humble, most amazing guy in the world. So I walk in to go get fitted for a suit, and he's like, what are you doing? I take him up for an award, and I need a new suit. And he's like, what the hell is up with your hair? And I said, what? And he goes, I don't like your hair. And I was like, you don't have to like my hair. And he goes, fair statement. So 2 weeks ago, I was sitting with Bob because we were getting some clothes fitted for the Builder Show. And I was like, Bob, and I said, do you remember, and I was trying to tell him what I wanted to wear, what I wanted to look. And he's, of course, because he's a fashion guy, he's trying to tell me what I should wear. And I said, remember when you told me you hated my hair? And he's like, I told you I hated your hair? I said, yeah. And I said, remember I told you I didn't care what you thought of my hair? He's like, yeah. And he's like, exactly. I don't care what you think. Because this is my brand.
This is your brand.
I don't need everybody to like me or like what I look like or whatever it may be. And I think the quicker you realize that in life in general, that not everybody has to like you, the more authentic you are to who you are.
So true. I love that. And it's so timely. I just finished reading a book recently called The Courage to Be Disliked. And it's such an amazing book. And it takes courage to allow yourself to be disliked. Yeah. And because most people, what they do is they have such a fear of being disliked that they lose their own identity because they're trying to become everything to everyone. And they're on this mad scramble. Yeah. But it takes such courage to say, this is my brand, this is who I am. And while I don't invite people to dislike me, I'm not going to try to save people from disliking me.
Yeah.
Do you know
it's
what
not
I'm
going to change who you are.
No.
You're going to be you.
Yeah, and I think that's so, it's such a powerful, and I didn't even know this is where the conversation would go, but this is like, it's such a powerful thing because your brand, this is one of the things I think that is so unique about you, what you own the space in, and that is branding. I know, Will, who I haven't met, is big on branding, but I think what you've owned the space is, I've been in Denver and, been with a friend and she says, oh, do you know Chris? And I'm like, no, I don't know Chris. Oh, you got to meet Chris, Natasha, right? Then I'm in, California, and Lisa's, do you know Chris? I'm like, no, I don't know Chris. Oh, you got to know Chris, Lisa Parrish. Yeah. I mean, so it doesn't matter where I go, right? Somebody's saying you got to meet Chris.
Yeah.
And so you've done a good job of, without being on Facebook, without being on Instagram, without being on Pinterest, although I'm not on Pinterest. I don't know if anybody's, I like this. The one app I like to implode because my wife thinks that our house should be a living Pinterest site. Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. But anyway, you've done a good job of being able to create such a brand that it's crossed over, not just in this area where you are, but across the nation, and that's a pretty powerful thing.
Well, and it's you were doing a podcast with Amr out of Houston.
Yeah. Oh, Amr's another one.
Amr's a great friend of mine, and you guys joked that I was the Kevin Bacon of home building,
Yeah.
and that's the 7 degrees separation. The funny thing is, that's not the first time I've ever heard that. And I love Kevin Bacon because I'm a kid of the 80s, so Footloose was awesome, and there's so many other great Kevin Bacon movies, and I'm like, I will take that. I take it as a compliment, right? But where that comes from is I truly believe just being genuine to people. Like, and you're the same way. We love people. We love talking to people.
Yeah.
And people have shit. Everybody has shit. Even the most well put together person has shit. And you walk down this hall here, we can walk down, everybody's got something going on. Yeah. Does anybody ever take the time to listen and have a conversation with those people to find out what truly moves them through the day? What motivates them? And what I love is meeting people and talking to them and finding out who they are and why they are and what they do and why they do it. And when you are genuinely interested in people, you're easily likable. Yeah. And I don't go in trying to be liked by everybody. I go in there trying to be authentic and care about everybody in there because everybody has a story, and I know I have my own shit. But when you care about others, you are easily likable. And then when you try to connect people, I like to think that I'm a connector of people, right? Yeah. I mean, you and I talk all the time. Hey, do you know this person? Yeah, you want me to get their cell phone number? You want me to put you in touch with them? Yeah. And it's like, it's not where you want something from them, right? I'll shoot text messages to probably 50 really great people that are 10 times more successful than me in this industry or in life in general. I'm like, hey, I was thinking about you, just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
Like, who gets that? Who does that? And when I get those, I'm like, thank you. Because something made you think of me.
That's so true. I just texted today. I was walking in and I texted a guy that I worked with 2 years ago. I was trained his company 2 years ago. I haven't talked to him in a while. And I just texted him and said, hey, I'm in Texas. He's in San Antonio.
Okay.
And I saw a sign for San Antonio. I started thinking about you. Hope all is well. And he was like, hey, it was great to hear from you. And you're right. If you're conscious about that, the difference that it can make, I think that. So what do you think the most important thing about building your brand is? Like your personal brand. One, do you think it's recognizing that you are a brand? Do you think that people just don't?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's a brand. And then the second thing is don't apologize for yourself.
Yeah.
Gary Vee, who you interviewed a couple weeks ago, I listened to his podcast again today. He said some stuff about home building that I called out as bullshit. Yeah. But one thing that's so amazing about Gary Vee is he doesn't apologize for who he is. No. That's why he has 5 million followers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't believe half the shit he says, but I listen to that podcast religiously because he's entertaining, because he's a genius, because he's smart, and because he could care less what anybody in the world thinks. He may care what his mom thinks, he may care what his wife thinks. Those seem to be two people that he does care genuinely about what they possibly think. But other than that, I don't think he gives a shit what anybody thinks.
No.
But he doesn't apologize for it. So I think if you're going to be a brand, you're going to be authentic, you need to be authentically you.
Yeah, you need to own it.
You need to own it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the things that happens too is people don't understand that if you don't control your brand, then somebody else is, right? So you either, and what I mean by that is people's like, well, I'm not a brand. Well, you are a brand. You just don't have a say in it because you allow
Yeah.
everybody else to decide what your brand is. Right. So, for me, it's understanding when I got into the training world and I started doing national sales training, there were people that said, well, one, you don't have a college degree, or two, you're kind of a big guy, you have this deep New York accent, and tried to change all that. And even it was conflicted. I was like, oh, should I try to change my voice? Should I try to change? I'm like, this is me. And once I accepted that, once I got over this idea of my brand is what I want it to be, not what I think, not what everybody else thinks it should be. All of a sudden, things started turning around. Do you know what I'm saying? I was lost for a while there, and then I was like, no, this is my brand. This is what I'm going to be.
Well, you're uniquely you.
Yeah.
And when I hire salespeople, we put them in a training program with other salespeople, and they say, well, do you want me to act like them? And I'm like, no. I have a sales team of 24 people. I don't want any of you to be like anybody else in that room because I hired you for your uniqueness.
Yeah.
Now, there's certain things that I want you to do while you're on the sales floor or follow or whatever it may be, but be you.
Yeah, I think that's such a big thing. We talk about that a lot in my training, is that when you go through a training, when you go through a sales training or a leadership training or whatever, and I don't care who it is, what most of the time happens is somebody comes in, a sales trainer or a coach or somebody comes in and tries to sell you the silver bullet to make you more successful. Here's the 10 decisions. Here's the 5 steps. Here's the 3. Do this and you will be successful. And I think what happens a lot of times is I don't really subscribe to that. Let me explain what I mean by that. Is that I believe there is a silver bullet to sales and to success. But I think the silver bullet is owning what works best for you. Yeah. Creating your own process and figuring out what's most authentic. For some people, the 6 steps of home ownership or 6 steps to sell this isn't going to come natural or authentic to this person. Doesn't mean they can't evolve and train and grow to become better. And that's not what I'm saying. But I think the best sales tool, the best key people have to success is their authentic self.
Yeah.
And authentic doesn't mean you're not growing, you can't get better. It means embrace the gifts that you have. And so if somebody said to me, I went through a training once when I first started selling. Great guy, great trainer, great and very successful. But he gave me scripts. And he said, here are the scripts, and here's what you have to say. Word for word. Don't improvise, if you say this, you'll have success. They say this, you say this. They say this, you say this. And I struggled really, really bad. One, I couldn't remember all of it, right? My memory just sucked.
Were you an actor or were you a salesperson?
I was like an actor. And it didn't matter. And it was just and even to the point now where I'll film with Evan or I'll film with somebody, and I can't work off of a script.
Yeah.
I can't, I had somebody that, wrote it. We were doing a promo, and they wrote the script for me. This several years ago, they wrote the script for me, and they said, and it wasn't even on camera. I just had to do the voiceover, and so I read it, and they said, no, it doesn't sound real, and I said, let's do it again. And I did it probably 40 times. And I'm like, they're like, no, you got to make it sound like it's not scripted. I said, but it is scripted, and it's not natural for me. And so finally I say, can I just talk about it the way I want to talk about it? They're like, fine. I think they were just tired and fed up. They're, no, just go ahead and do it. So I think to your point is it's own your brand, right? Yeah. Own your brand, figure out what it is, and then drive it home and be unapologetic for it. Yeah,
be unapologetic and be genuine in the sense that you are selling something you believe in, right? I mean, so there's 78 home builders in Dallas-Fort Worth. There's maybe 5 I would go work for because I don't believe in the other's message. I don't believe what they're saying, what they're selling, whatever it may be. And so if you're on the sales floor, regardless of your product, as long as you're doing what's in the best interest of that prospect or client or whatever you call them, you're going to be successful. Yeah. But you have to genuinely care about that person. And if you're not, you're in the wrong damn business.
100%. Yeah. It's all about your intent, right? Is your intent for you, or is your intent to serve? Which one is your intent for? Yeah. And so for me, I sold a lot of homes. I was one of the top salespeople, if not the top salesperson, for years, and for a large national builder. And it was always about. It wasn't about commission. It wasn't. Listen. Did I need to get paid? Yes. Did I need to pay bills? Yes. Raise a family? I get all that. But it wasn't even this, even the podcast. My intent isn't, I don't make any money off this podcast. Matter of fact, this podcast costs me a ton of money to make, right? Because I got to travel, I got to bring everyone, we got to film it, produce
rooms,
it. It all adds money. I don't make it. I don't get paid for doing this. But my thought and my belief is that if your intent is true to want to deliver great content, great information to the people that are listening and to help improve their lives, it eventually will. The return on investment always pays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So if your intent when somebody comes into the model home is to improve that person's life and really make an impact, it's going to work. You do that enough times, the money just follows.
It does, and it's amazing to see somebody who, and I don't hire people with experience. I don't want, if you're coming in, I want you to have zero experience. And people are like, you're crazy. Yeah. Why aren't you hiring people with experience? Because generally people with experience have egos, attitudes, and bad habits, right? Yeah. Or if you're sitting in front of me, there's a reason you're in front of me that it didn't go well in the other place, and I kind of want to uncover that anyway. Like, why are you here? Yeah. So if I hire somebody that has a tremendous amount of desire to do what we do and an authentic reason for doing it, I can teach them and train them everything else. I mean, a really horrible new home salesperson in Dallas-Fort Worth makes $100,000 a year. And I believe 70% of the people that do this are horrible at their job. That means when the market shifts or dips or whatever it may, those people that suck at their job are going to end up getting fired first. They're going to go do something else, right? But it's the people that hustle and that genuinely care and show the client that they care that are going to be successful. And they're the ones that are going to make $200,000 a year in the bad times.
200 in the bad times.
In the bad times. I mean, I have salespeople that make $400,000 a year because they're authentic and they care. Right. And they sell a product they believe in.
Yeah, so they have a great product they believe in, but the ultimate thing is they actually believe that they're making a difference.
Yeah.
They actually are believe that, hey, this isn't about a house. Listen, your homes are great. I'm sure I've never been in one. Your homes are great, but they're not magic sticks and bricks.
No.
Right? These are homes like every other home. 4 walls, maybe a couple more.
Yeah.
A roof, maybe a couple more. A couple of garage spots, but great product. But even the best product in the world needs a great person that cares about delivering that to somebody else.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're in a market with 78 home builders, right? 78 of us fight for the same damn 35,000 people. Now, we do 35,000 new homes a year in Texas, or in Dallas, Fort Worth. That's a lot, but you still break that up by 78 home builders. It's not as many as you would think, right? And we do all sell 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, 2-car garage, right? But it's the difference of the salesperson that makes it all worthwhile. Right. And I have a saying, and I mystery shop my sales team. And I think if you run a sales team and you don't mystery shop your team, you're crazy. Yeah. But here's where I take it even further. And I had to work really hard to get my mystery shop company to agree to this because they did not agree to it at first. I mystery shop my competition way more than I mystery shop my team. Yeah. And I do it for this reason here, is I have a saying, suck less for success. Right? You don't have to be the best damn salesperson in the world. You just need to suck a little bit less than the person next to you because they're going to suck so bad that the person kind of going to come next to you and you're going to win by default, right? Yeah. Now, I don't think any of my salespeople suck, right? Now, there are days we all are not very good. There are days we're all not our best versions of ourselves. But as long as your worst version is better than theirs,
on those off days,
you got it.
Do you think we mystery shop a lot of our clients as part of our program, but what we do is we really do it so that we can show people, hey, this is what you're actually doing. Because what you think you're doing and what you are actually doing are 2 completely different things, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, from what you say to how you say it to how you use your hands to your body language to everything, it's very...
Yeah, I remember I got shopped when I first started selling, and I'm a big guy, 6'8", 250. And so people would come into the sales center. I remember this lady shopped me, and just the camera angle, she had like the camera where it was like in her button or something. Yeah. Just the camera angle of her looking up at me was insane. And I'm like, how intimidating is that for somebody? Yeah. They're staring up at me like this, and I'm this big guy trying to get them to buy a home. Yeah. So I it's like, man, that just doesn't seem comfortable for that person. So I readjusted how I address people. I would, and this is where a sales trainer would say, well, you can never do this, right? So I would, back in when I sold, we didn't have the computerized screens. We had plat maps. Remember the plat map
We
tables?
still actually do.
I love the plat map tables, yeah. And so and there was usually like bar stools around them. I would kneel on the bar stool so that I could bring my height down, so I was now looking eye to eye.
Yeah.
And just that adjustment where people would say, no, you got to stand up straight. It was intimidating when you look at that. Those rules aren't made for somebody that's 6'8", 250. Yeah. So you have to be able to adjust and pivot based on what works best for you, right?
Absolutely. And if you're watching your mystery shop, and this is what I say too, don't mystery shop to catch them doing something wrong or to fire them. Mystery shop them to teach them, love them, coach them, coddle them, whatever it is, and make them better. Again, it falls back to being genuine in your desire to help people. You're mystery shopping to make them better, to help them make more money, to achieve their why. You're not mystery shopping to say, you didn't do this, you didn't get a registration card, you didn't follow up, you're now fired, or we're setting you up on a performance plan. I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
And if your team understands that that's why they're getting mystery shopped, then they're not uptight to get mystery shopped, right?
Yeah.
They know that you have their best intention at heart. Yeah. Now, when we mystery shop the competition and we watch it, I mean, if I have a salesperson that calls in and says, I'm doing awful, like I'm really struggling, can you help me? First thing I do is I get a mystery shop of their competition. I sit down and we sit in this room that we're in right now, and we put that person up on the screen and we laugh. Yeah. Because we're like, please tell me you're better than this.
Yeah.
Are you better? And then they feel energized. They're excited, like, oh my God, I got this. I'm so much better.
Yes. And so it gives them a good motivation push to say. And I think listen, sales, here's what's crazy. I want to talk about sales, just sales in general, right? So salespeople can get such a negative rap, right? I've heard podcast people refer to used car salesmen negatively. I've heard people use it. It drives me crazy because there is a negative connotation with salespeople. One, why do you think that is? Why do you think there's a negative connotation out there about salespeople?
I think because there are a lot of really bad salespeople that give the rest of us a bad name, and that's the same what they say. I think 70% of on-site salespeople are awful.
Yeah, but isn't there bad lawyers and bad doctors and bad
Well, and I think what it comes down to is people perceive sales as something that happens to you, and not something that happens for you, right? Like we get sold something. He sold me. She sold me. Yeah. Nobody ever wants to be sold anything. They want to be guided towards something. But
which is so crazy to me because if you're a sales professional and you think negatively about sales professionals, how the hell can you be a successful salesperson? Like if you have this idea in your mind, salespeople are slimy, sleazy, whatever. Well, you're going to do everything in your power to not be a sales professional, and which means not sell. To me, like I think there's such a I don't find salespeople to be sleazy or slimy because I think the challenge, and I just had this conversation last night with a good friend who just became like a great, I can see that we're going to be great friends, the owner of Kai's, Jeff Reagan. And I think that we have really separated ourselves. Here's the thing, where people are now describing people by the what. Like, what they do. Mm-hmm. You're a salesperson. Yeah. You're a Republican. You're a Democrat. You're gay. You're straight. You're black. It's like it's the what.
Yeah.
So for me, like I don't have a problem at all with salespeople.
Yeah.
I have a problem with disingenuous people in general.
Yeah. Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
it doesn't matter if you're a salesperson or and that goes back to your intent, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a salesperson and you're a jackass, then you're a jackass.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
what your job
is. Doesn't matter if you're selling me something or if you're pumping the gas in my car. If you're the president of the United States, a jackass is a jackass is a jackass. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely true.
So how do we get past this idea of these labels of saying, well, because you're a salesperson, I have to be on guard, or because and I think that what happens. I think most people that meet a salesperson immediately sword up, shield out, ready to defend because I don't want to be sold. And because we automatically assume that the intent is wrong.
Well, and I think this kind of goes a little bit against what you say, but I think this is why your business is successful, and I think this is why I'm successful, my team's successful, is I actually like that they come in with a negative connotation on sales. I actually like that they think, oh crap, I'm going to get sold, or I'm going to deal with some cheesy salesperson, whatever they're going to be, because I don't educate or teach, neither do you, people to be that way. Right? So if the rest of the industry is thought out to be sleazy or slimy or snake oil salesman, whatever, how much easier is that for you if you are genuine, or you teach people to be genuine? Are you setting yourself apart?
Yeah, you instantly set yourself apart.
You instantly set yourself apart.
100%.
But you know what? I've never apologized for being in sales. I mean, so in home building, they say that if you're selling homes, now I manage people that sell homes, but if you're selling homes, you employ 32 people. 32 people get to have a job because you put your heart and soul into selling a home, right? You should you should be the happiest, most proud person in the world to be a salesperson. And if you think about it, home building, we have finance and construction and purchasing, but all of us are in sales. If we're real with ourselves, everything we do is sales.
Everything in our life we do is sales.
Everything in life.
I had to sell my wife on the restaurant we're going to go to dinner tomorrow night. Tomorrow's night, well, this isn't going to air until March or April, but tomorrow night is Valentine's.
Yeah.
And I have to sell her. She wants to have, we live in Maryland, she wants to have steamed crabs. I want to go to sushi. I'm gonna have to sell her on the idea to go to sushi. She's gonna want. So there's always it's always sales happening.
Always
right?
sales.
You're either being sold something or you're selling somebody something in your life. I think that, but again, it goes back to what is your intent to contribute to somebody's life. And I think that for me, the way I separate myself in sales training or sales coaching is, listen, I'm not trying to force down your throat the Chad's 3 principles of selling. I'm trying to say, hey, listen, what's your process that works for you? And why aren't you doing the things that you need to do to be successful? Like, what's stopping you from being successful? I can tell you, not one person I know is ever going to sell a multitude of millions of homes because I gave them the 3 secrets to selling homes.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. And maybe that makes me a shitty sales trainer for not having the golden recipe. But to me, if you can get people to unlock their real intent, their real desire, and how they can contribute to people's lives, then you set them off to the
And I think
races.
that's what makes you so great, though, is that you are not stuck teaching or educating one field of the business, right?
No, right.
You cross train a magnitude of different industries, because it really comes down to what we've been talking about is, as long as you're genuine about what you're doing and you are trying to make that person's life better. I mean, think about any sales situation at all. If somebody's coming to you or talking to you, they're dissatisfied with something, right? They're there for a reason. You just have to uncover that reason in an authentic way. So somebody's coming in to buy a home, right? Homes are expensive. Our average sales price of a home is $400,000. So you just don't go buy $400,000 things all the time. If you think about the last time you bought a house or last time I bought a house, there was a reason behind what you did. So I bought my current house because I wanted my daughter to be in a school district or be in a situation that was better for her, have a larger yard to play in than we had before. So my motivation was to make my daughter's life better. And in making my daughter's life better makes me feel better as a dad. Right? So just uncover that instance, whether it be a car, a house, a boat, whatever it is.
We moved a year ago because my wife told me we were moving because she wanted a bigger yard. That's it. And I was perfectly fine where we were, but knowing that this was going to make her happier made me happier. And so the real estate agent that helped facilitate, they understood that. So she understood, hey, this wasn't a Chad was running towards joy. This was saying Chad's running towards trying to be the best father and husband he can and give something that was going to make his wife and kids happy. And in return, my happiness wasn't as much tied to the house as it was tied to my family's happiness. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
a great real estate agent, great salesperson understands that. So let's talk about, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but let's talk about, I recently had Gary Vee on. And he said some, and those of you who don't know Gary Vee, you should, because you should have listened to that podcast episode. If you didn't, go back and listen to that shit. But Gary Vee obviously has a big brand, and he said some things about home sales. Not so much home building in general, but just buying a home. The idea of building of having the American dream. And he said he thinks it's dead. He said I don't think the American dream anymore should be buying a home. It's a waste of upfront capital. And that you could rent and save the capital, and we're gonna have him on again. He's gonna go in further depth. But what's somebody that is so integrated in the home building and home sales process. What's your thought on that?
So, one, huge fan of Gary Vee. Like I said earlier, I agree with probably half the things he says. I think he says things to get a reaction, which is genius for his brand, right?
Yeah.
I think he said that homeownership was bullshit. He said homeownership made sense in like 1950 and 1975. And it did. And homeownership makes sense now. And I think what that is because, and you posted this on social media and I responded to it. With anything, you need to understand both sides, right? And I think before you ever comment, and this is why, I mean, I don't have Facebook for a reason. The reason I don't have Facebook is because as a home building brand, we get blasted a lot. We have what I call brand assassins that may have had a bad experience, just want to tear you apart. Now, they want to share to the rest of the world how bad of an experience they had, but they don't know the full side of the story. I actually think that you should take an IQ test before you're allowed to post something on social media. I really do, because I think half the shit would not be posted. But so and my point in saying this is I immediately, when I heard Gary Vee, got defensive, right? But then I got to looking back on it, and I listened to the podcast again because I wanted to make sure I understood what he said. And I think before you respond to anything, you need to understand where they're coming from. His point in that, and I believe, I've never spoken to the man before, I believe his point is you take that money, that down payment, and let's say it's 20%. But let's be real, most people are not putting 20% down. But let's say 20%. And you take that and you invest it in something else to make you better, your family better, to make you more money. And that home building or a house is not the direction for that to go.
Right.
Now, I think that largely depends on what part of the country you live in, right? In Dallas-Fort Worth, we have very affordable housing, right? I still believe the American dream is to own a home. I still strongly believe that. Zillow reports that is actually accurate. Now, whether that happens or not, or whether Gary believes that or not, it really doesn't really matter. But it is. I mean, we have people that come through the door that want to have a house for their family, right? And his whole point on that is they need to take that money and put it into something else. But my statement on that was people aren't disciplined enough to do that. It all comes back to what are you disciplined enough to do. Now, do I believe that if you were to take his mindset and take your 20% and have the discipline to put it in something else that is going to grow exponentially faster, then that's a great idea. Rent.
Yeah, I think so true. Here's my take, and I was in the room with him when he said it, right? And so here's my take. My take is that he's tying it up because he related it to people going to college that shouldn't be going to college, right?
93%.
93%, right? So I think what he's realizing is that I'll go back, and I've said it a couple times already today, but it's your intent. If you're buying a home for the intent for significance to show people that you have this big mansion, this and whatever, then it's not good use. If your intent is to if you're all about making money, that's it. You want to drive income. You want to have more revenue. You want to spend more money. Whatever. You want more money.
Yeah.
Then certainly buying a home today is not the fastest way to make money. There's
Agreed.
No question.
Yeah,
right. It's not
agreed.
The appreciation days of going from 300 to 500 in a couple of years are long gone.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen again in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that if you're using it as a how do I get more wealth? Probably not the best. But I also think but that's again, it's so situational. What are you trying to achieve? If you're trying to achieve significance, then just rent a home. If truly you just want to say I live in this neighborhood and I have this big house, then find one and rent one. Don't put the upfront capital. If you're saying I want to own a home because I want to own the building, I know that I don't own my home. The bank owns my home. For another 29 years, the bank owns my home.
That's factual.
Right? In 30 years, I'll own that home, maybe sooner. I'll own that home. And to me, that's a great investment. 30 years from now, I'll be 70 years old. I'll look to downsize. I'll have all that money from the home that I'll sell, and I can live off the rest of my life, right? So it's an investment. So I think it's what is your intent. My other thing is, if everybody's renting, somebody has to be buying. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in order for me to rent a house, the banks aren't going to aren't automatically going to become rental companies. So if it starts to turn where people start renting more than buying, and you want to make money, then buy homes and rent them out as an investment.
Well, and I could almost see it, and I don't manage his money by any means, but I could almost see him getting into, based on his statement, getting into the business of financing companies that build rental homes.
Correct.
Because, we're starting to see them pop up all over Dallas-Fort Worth, where you're having nice houses.
Oh, yeah.
An entire community of rental homes.
Yeah, I have a builder that I am just getting ready to start working with, who is building a community. 45 homes, building it all out, be 45, and these are nice rentals in a nice part of the country that he is going to rent these 45 homes out.
And they're getting. Home builders all over the world are actually starting to explore this now. So I think Gary's onto something in that instance, that there are a lot more people that are willing to rent. Now, there's a lot of people too, and when you're in this business, there's a lot of people with shit credit. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that just did not make smart decisions in life, that don't have the ability to get even financed if they had the money.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes they are forced to rent. But me personally, especially somebody in this industry, home ownership makes sense. Now, it makes sense for me, and it goes back to my word. I don't have the discipline, and I know I don't have the discipline to take that money that was my earnest deposit and put it into something else. And am I smart enough to grow it like Gary is, or somebody else maybe? I don't have that.
Nor
but
do
for
I.
me, I'll take my house, $500,000 house, and I'll pay my $3,500 a month for 30 years, and at the end, I'm hoping my 3% appreciation gets me a house worth $800,000-$900,000. That I know that I have an $800,000-$900,000 asset that I could sell, then go rent. Whereas if I go for 30 years of just renting, I know for a fact I'm not going to save $800,000, $900,000, nor am I going to save the original $500,000 to pay for the house, because I'm not disciplined, and I don't think the majority of the world is disciplined.
Correct. That's exactly right.
I think that's why they rent.
I 100% agree with you. I'm right on the same path, dude. Like, I know that I'm not going to take my equity from right now. If I wanted to, I'm not going through the refinancing process, pulling the money out, investing it somewhere else. Like, if I had that money sitting there, there's no way. Like, when I put it into my house, when I put the down payment on my house, it seemed, all right, this is a good decision.
Yeah.
If I had that same money and I didn't have a house right now, and it said, invest in the stock market, invest in this, there's no way I write the same check.
And it's interesting because the market did grow significantly in Dallas-Fort Worth, where we had a huge appreciation. So when I moved here, I bought my first house here in 2014. I sold it last year, got into my new one. I made $100,000 on that house in 3 years.
Wow.
Now that is crazy. Right? That's not normal. That's not normal. But there's no way I could have afforded the house that I'm in today if I didn't initially go buy that first house. Yeah. Right? So it was a propeller from one house to the next to get me there. Now, would I have been able to save $100,000 in 3 years on my own?
Yeah.
No. Hell no.
No. I would have went on vacation.
The whole thing, more money, more problems, is true, right? And like I've made great money in my career, and I've been broke as a joke before. And I had the same amount of problems.
Yeah.
It's just different problems.
Just different problems. Yeah. That's so funny. All right, so a couple more questions. So this is kind of a weird question because you already answered, but I'm asking again. Where do people find you? Although they can find you anywhere if you're in the home building space. But if somebody's listening to this that's not in home building and just wants to pick your brain on leadership, on sales, on whatever, where do they find you besides LinkedIn?
Can I give a phone number? Is that
You can if you want.
I don't have any problem. I talk to, in doing this and growing a business in 7 years to literally nothing to one of the seventh fastest growing company in Dallas-Fort Worth. Again, that's not on me. That's on a team of 64 of us here. Yeah. But I talk to 10 to 12 home builders, I don't want to say a day, but it's pretty dang close, from across the country to say, hey, how did you do this, or what do you think about this, or, I love to do that.
Yeah. So, you can definitely 100% give your phone number out.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure when they call and say, hey, we need consulting, you say, oh, I know this guy, Cannonball Moments.
Cannonball, so that's it. Yeah, so my phone number is 913-982-6589. That's a Kansas City number. That's home for me. Live and die Kansas City.
Are you a Chiefs fan?
A huge Chiefs fan. Patrick Mahomes is the second coming. Let's be real. Huge Kansas City Royals fan. I mean,
Oh, so you're living in pain there.
I mean, well, we won the World Series in 15 and we went in 14, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But the other way to find me is on LinkedIn. That's the only social media I have. LinkedIn.
I know. I'm going to get you on another social media
No,
platform.
you're not. I have so many friends in the past that are like, I'm going to set you up on a Facebook page. I'm like,
I'm going to set one up with your name on it. I don't care. And I'm going to find the picture of when you were a little kid with your hair.
Well, here's the truth of why I don't actually have a Facebook account. I moved away from Kansas City in 2007, and Kansas City is one of those places that nobody leaves. It's like 87% of the people never leave Kansas because it's a great place to live. It's great family values, great cost of living trade, whatever it may be. But I left. And when I left, I moved to Denver, Colorado. I started a home builder from scratch there, and this is going to age me, but I had a MySpace account. MySpace.
Everybody loves MySpace.
Everybody. I mean, Tom was my number one friend, right? Everybody had Tom. Tom was my friend.
There's no way. I'm sorry. I'm talking to Evan behind the camera. You are too young to have MySpace. What are you, 12? 10?
I had one.
You were 10 years old.
How old are you now?
28.
Yeah, there's no way in hell. Wasn't even around then.
Yeah,
So I'm 38. I'm 38.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. And so I moved away, and I moved to Denver, Colorado, and I had no friends. And so Except for Tom. So I did two things. I actually started a cancer charity, and it was a pub crawl. And I went downtown, and I grew that thing to be the third largest pub crawl in the United States.
Wow.
Because I had no friends, and I would literally travel with a backpack with 10,000 flyers, and I printed those flyers at work, which is really horrible looking back on it. But and I started a pub crawl to raise money for cancer. And then the second thing is with MySpace, I stalked that. I stalked it because I had nothing else to do, and I felt sorry for myself that I didn't have any friends. And so I watched what all my friends were doing, and I wanted to move home so bad and do what they were doing. And at that moment, my sister called me up, and she's like, why are you still on MySpace? Everybody's going to this Facebook thing. And I'm like, that was a moment I made right there that I was like, I'm not even getting on there because it is such a time stealer.
It is such a time stealer. I agree with that.
And there's so much negativity that goes on there. And again, I believe you should take an IQ test before you post anything. And I believe most people on Facebook have a really small IQ. Not saying all people. I just think some people just post dumb shit.
Just dumb shit, yeah. But I guess listen, I'm a big social media guy. I love social media, and I love it because I've been on social media as long as it's been around, and I can tell you, I don't think I've ever. Maybe somebody could find one from 10 years ago, but I can't ever remember ever posting anything negative. Yeah. And it's not because I believe that the world is sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, but I do believe this in my heart of hearts, that in life you find what you focus on. And so what I mean by that is, if I'm looking for things to be negative on Facebook, or I'm looking for bad things to post, or I'm looking for evil in the world, I'll find it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to attract it. So if I put that out there, I'm going to attract it. But if I put out positivity, if I put out love, if I put out joy, doesn't mean my life is filled with positivity, love, and joy.
Yeah.
But I want it to be.
Yeah.
So I post those kind of things. So I talk about those things. I live my life that way because I want to attract it. Not because I have it, because I want to attract that in my life.
Well, let's go back to something here real quick, because you made a comment on one of your podcasts one time, and Gary, and not that we're constantly promoting Gary Vee, but he made a comment about this too. You had made a comment that you were running the Chicago Marathon, which, by the way, in my opinion, one of the most kick-ass marathons you can run.
Although tomorrow is the last day to sign up for the New York City Marathon, so if you want to sign up, enter the lottery, you could do it today. Run the New York City with me this year.
I mean, I did say I think I want to do Boston and New York next year. I think I ran 3 marathons last year. I think I want to take some time off. I bought a Peloton bike. That's a whole nother podcast because I'm obsessed with the Peloton bike. But where I'm getting with this is, you made a comment that somebody posted something negative about you, and you read it the night before the Chicago Marathon, right?
Yeah,
and it just totally somebody totally shit in your cereal. I'm going to use my friend Rhonda Conger. They shit in your cereal, right?
I've never heard that expression. I like
horrible.
It. Horrible.
And you were like, oh my God, like what kind of... And Gary Vee, I remember listening to a Gary Vee podcast one time, and he's like, be cautious of brand assassins or people who post negative shit about you, because how bad is their world if they're taking the time to do that to you? Don't give them that.
No, I agree.
Don't give them
somebody
that.
Somebody just did that today. So somebody on LinkedIn saw the Gary Vee thing and said, he said, you and Gary should really not use profanity on the podcast.
Oh, now I'm screwed.
It said it shows a lack of intelligence, a lack of structured vocabulary. You need and it wasn't like he's just stating his opinion,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah.
And so I just said, I responded. I said, thanks. I appreciate your comments, and I'll work on it.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I got in the car to show Evan. I was like, Evan, look. And then he deleted his whole post. Like took it down. I think so. When sometimes, you're right. People want to spread negativity.
Yeah.
How bad they're broken. They're broken, and they're trying to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
And so I don't attract that. I have my own problems. Trust me, my life is not rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah.
But I know that if I know the rabbit hole I'll go down if I start becoming the victim on Facebook or social media. If I start bad mouthing other people, it'll send me down a rabbit hole that I have been down before, and I don't want to be down there anymore. All right, last question.
Okay.
First of all, thanks for your time.
Yeah,
we're going to be in Vegas in a couple of days. Well, this will air after us, so we'll be hanging in Vegas. So I'm just going to, you remember, gosh, I'm looking at Evan like he's young. Like, I had this idea. There used to be this singer called his name was Elvis Presley. And Evan probably doesn't know what it is. But he was like the king of Vegas. Yeah. And like what it would have been like to follow Elvis through like the casinos in Vegas. Like just walk with him. Yeah. You don't even have to say anything. Just like and so I feel like in Vegas that's what I'm gonna do with you. I'm just gonna like walk behind you through IBS and just like pick up your leftovers. Like
it's definitely not true. It's funny because my team makes fun of me that I'm like a social butterfly, and when I go there's all these people, and it's so that's not who I am. I'm like
nobody knows who I am. I don't blend in either.
I may like be somewhat of a public person, but I'm actually not a public person.
Oh really?
That's how I feel anyway. I don't
know if that's true.
I don't know either.
I think you're a pretty public person. You know everybody. Yeah,
we'll see.
Every time I talk to you, I'm like, where are you? I'm at this convention. I'm speaking here. I'm receiving this award. Anyway, all right. Listen, thanks again. Last question.
Yeah.
So you're young. So I'll say 70 years from now. So 70 years from now, when you leave this earth, your number has been called and it's time for you to go. What do you want your contribution to have been?
Yeah. I've been listening to your podcast from like day one, and I always thought if I'm ever on the show, what the heck is my answer going to be to that? And the thing I always go back to is I have two little girls that are my world. My contribution is them to change the world. That's what I want. I want them to change the world. I want to give them the ability to do anything they want, try anything they want, be anybody they want to be, and not restrict them to accomplish great things. That's what I want.
That shit was good. That's a great contribution. Wow. Awesome. Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Let's head to Vegas in a couple of days.
Do it.
All right. Peace.